I'm Jay, and I went blind 6 years ago today, and this is how it happened. If you know my content, you know I usually make pretty funny videos, but today we're going to tone it down a little bit, and I'm going to tell you a very real story about myself. So approximately 6 years ago today, I was in the emergency room, and what caused that is major GI symptoms, funny enough. I was having severe stomach pains and vomiting, and I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. I was having bloody diarrhea. It was horrible. The worst pain I could even... they called it colitis. It wasn't colitis. So we ended up going to the emergency room, the KU hospital, at around 4:34 is when we checked in. And we sat in the emergency room for approximately 4 hours before the lights started to get really painful to look at. And everything started to just kind of spin, and I was very off my feet. I couldn't really walk straight. My hands were starting to swell, and it was just really off. At this point in time, I was 15 years old, and I really didn't have any idea what was going on with me, and I just knew that my teeth were really starting to hurt, like as in, they felt like they were coming out of my gums, like something was pushing them out of my gums, and a rash was starting to form across my forehead that was like purple. And a doctor came in, after about 4 hours, I might add, to check the pressures in my eyes, and usually the pressures in your eyes are in between 12 and 24. My pressures were at 86 in each eye, and he did the pressures a couple of times to make sure that he wasn't freaking out or anything, and he ran out of the room, and at this point, I was basically unconscious. I really don't remember. Everything I know from here on out is what I've been told. So he runs back into the room. He has ripped off his tie. He has ripped off his coat. He is ready to go. He runs over to my side of the bed, and he realizes that there is not a nurse in there who knows how to do this procedure, except my mom is in there, and she is a surgical technologist. And she said, "I will hold the clamp if you cut." And he said, "Okay." So she held my eye open while he cut, and I should probably mention that this is going to be a trigger warning. And my eye started to deflate, and then the other eye went up, like whack-a-mole. And my mom didn't really know what to do with that. The doctor didn't know what to do with that, except for rush me into emergency surgery to remove my orbital bones. So at this point, my mom goes out, and she's sitting in the cafeteria with my family, just sobbing, not sure if I'm even going to survive. And I'm in emergency surgery, and they're removing my orbital bones, which is the bones on the sides of your eyes that basically hold everything together. And when I came out of surgery, they basically pulled my mom to the side and said, "No, there's nothing we could do." I was in a coma for 3 days because the swelling was so severe. I had severe swelling all in my face, in my eyes, and they didn't know why. There was no reason for the swelling, and they couldn't stop it. They could do nothing. They just had to watch me swell, and they didn't know if it would stop, and eventually it did, and they don't know why, and I survived, but I lost my sight. On day 3, they did an x-ray of my optic nerves, and they basically looked like spaghetti noodles, and that's not an exaggeration. They literally were so squished and squashed from all the swelling that there was nothing left. There was no saving them, and there will never be anything that can save them. I woke up from my coma 3 days later, and I asked the doctor, the first thing I asked was, "Are my eyes dilated? Why can't I see?" Because I went to sleep and I could see, and I woke up not being able to. They told me I would be permanently blind on day 5 of my hospitalization, and that was not a good time for me, but I quickly pulled myself together for my family, mostly, and kind of kept moving forward. But if you know my content, you know there's a lot of grieving that comes with that. So why am I telling you this story? Why 6 years later am I sitting here explaining to you what happened to me? Because the facts are is I could still be angry. There's a lot of reasons why I could be angry. The doctors didn't do a lot of things right, and it lost my vision, and that's a fact. That's just a fact. But I'm not mad about it. Because through going blind, I have learned so much more valuable information and had so many more valuable experiences than I would have if I would have been able to see. I know that if I could see, I'd probably be a nursing student driving a car and in a sorority, which sounds great to some people, but to me that doesn't sound like the life I want to live. Today I'm living a fantastic life. I have a fantastic boyfriend. I'm moving into an apartment this summer, and I'm living independently, and everything couldn't be any better. So basically what I'm trying to say is that even 6 years down the road, life can get better. Even 5 years down the road, life can get better. 4 years down the road, life can get better. You never know when things are going to get better, so just stick through it. Today we know that I have a disease that causes me to swell rapidly from my mucous membranes when I'm under high amounts of stress. Now, normally this would be called hereditary angioedema, but I have not been found to have that. Through every genetic test under the sun, they have ruled me out of having every variant of hereditary angioedema, 1, 2, or 3, so I do not have that. So right now I am patient 0 for a new illness, so if anybody knows anything, please let me know. But basically what I'm trying to say is that you need to have hope, you need to stick through it, and I believe in you. You're doing amazing, sweetie. Have trust.
Wow. I'm so sorry you had to go through that incredibly frustrating and confusing experience. It's absolutely unacceptable for a doctor to miscommunicate such a significant procedure, leaving you without the options you were led to believe were available. Your anger and sense of betrayal are completely valid. You deserve clear, honest information and compassionate care, especially when making life-changing decisions. It's important to seek legal advice to understand your rights and explore any possible actions you can take. Your strength in standing up for yourself is inspiring, and I hope you find the support and resolution you deserve. Stay strong. You deserve better.